Hello. Hello.
Hi, good morning.
Hi, good morning. How are you doing? You okay?
I am great. Thank you for asking.
No problem, no problem. Great, wonderful. Lovely to see you. There's a few people jumping on now. Hello, good morning. Good morning. How are you?
Hello, everyone.
Is everyone okay today? Hi, Ryan. How are you doing?
Hi, I'm okay. Thank you.
Great, wonderful. Well, thank you very much for coming today. I'm sure there'll be some more joining us, but let's just see how we get on. Okay, so today we're going to talk about speaking English. Now, obviously, all of you are presumably here because speaking English is what you want to improve. Is that right?
Yes.
Who works for an international company? Who needs to speak English at work?
Hi, teacher. This is Sunil Chauhan, and see you
Hi,
after a long time.
Hi, Sunil. How are you doing today?
I'm good. And what about you?
Very good, thank you. Very good. Yeah, so we're just talking about speaking English. Who speaks English at work? Do you speak English at work? Yes? No? Hello?
Actually, I don't speak. I don't work on the international company, but I will work. Actually, I will start a couple of months later in an international company.
Okay,
That's
so
I need
not
to,
yet then.
It's not yet. Yes, exactly.
Okay, brilliant. The stylist, how about you? The style. Would you mind putting your cameras on so I can see you? That would be really nice. Sunil,
Yeah.
can you put your camera on as well? Hi, Sunil. Hi. So do you use English at work?
Yeah, but only my webinars.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah.
And how about you, Ryan? Do you use English at work?
Actually, my company is an international company. The headquarters is in China, and I'm in the Malaysia manufacturing
Okay.
factory. But in my office, there are too many Chinese people, Chinese and Malaysian. So we always use Chinese to communicate.
Okay. I understand completely. How about you, the stylist? Are you there? Okay, I'm going to assume not because okay. So 90% of English learners tell me that speaking is the one element that they find the most difficult about English, about communicating in English. And so today I'm gonna give you 4 steps that you can take to improve your own English. Okay, so it sounds very straightforward, and it is straightforward. If you do these things on a very regular basis, you will find that your ability to communicate in English will grow as the days go on. So first of all, just to introduce myself, for those of you that don't know me, I'm Joanne Hayward. I'm a business English coach. I'm also an English teacher. I have a background in finance in the corporate world in both London and Dubai. And now I currently live on the beautiful island of Malta, which is just gorgeous. So now I've combined my love of teaching with my love for business, and so I'm also an entrepreneur, obviously, as you can tell. So I welcome any questions that you might have as the time goes on. We're not going to be here hugely long. I know that everyone's busy, so I'm going to give you the 4 tips fairly quickly. I'm also running a business English speaking course which starts at the beginning of December, so I'm going to put the link for that in as well, and this will expand upon what I'm going to tell you today, and it will also give you a lot of templates and practical tips and things like that. So that will happen within the course, but I'll tell you about that a little bit later. Okay, so if anyone's got any questions, please feel free to put them in the chat, and I will go along with that as and when we move on. So the first and possibly most important element to improving your speaking skills is actually listening. there's no point in knowing everything that you want to say if you are unable to understand what is being said to you. And enhancing your listening skills is a practice that you should be doing as often as you can. So I often recommend that you make this fun. So listening to the radio, listening to music, listening to audiobooks and podcasts. For those of you that don't know, when you listen to podcasts and audiobooks, you can actually slow the speed down. So if you're listening to either podcasts or audio books, you will find that there is a 1.0 somewhere. And if you click on that, you will go up to 1.5, then normally 2. And then if you click on it again, it will go down to 0.5. So if you feel that the speaker is a little fast for you, and it depends on the speaker, obviously, then you can also slow it down, and that will enable you to listen a bit more effectively. If you do need to slow it down, I would highly recommend that you play it again at normal speed. So once you know that you know what you're listening to, play it again at normal speed, because native speakers don't slow down to half speed normally when you're speaking or when you're listening. So that's a really key element of enhancing your listening skills, and that will help. Dennis, are you agreeing with me, or do you have a question?
I just agree. Thank you.
Okay.
Hello.
Wonderful, wonderful. Now, equally, if you are finding the speaker very easy to understand, you can speed it up. So 1.5 or even 2. You would listen to, if they have it. Sometimes they don't have 0.75. And as I said, it depends on the speaker itself. So some native speakers speak incredibly quickly, and some speak fairly slowly and in a more relaxed way. So it often depends on the subject and who's speaking. So, but for those that don't know, that's a really useful element. You can obviously listen to audiobooks and do other things, but the really important part about listening when you're listening for your English skill is to actually make a note of all of the words and phrases that you don't know. Make a note of them separately, and then you can come back to those words and phrases and readdress them. So there's no point in listening and understanding randomly. You want to be able to use those words and use that vocabulary moving on. So this is one of the most important ways of actually improving your vocabulary skills. So make a note of any words and phrases that you don't know, and then come back to them later, and you can look at them in more detail. Okay. Also, you won't remember them unless you do actually look at them again. So while you think you can understand something in the context it is in, you won't feel very comfortable using the words and phrases unless you actually put them into your mind a little bit more, with a bit more concrete. You try to repeat inside myself brilliant. That's why you're listening. Yes, the more you can work with audiobooks and podcasts. Also, it's a great way of practicing listening to different accents and different subjects. So these are a really great way of just listening, exposing yourself to different people speaking. Which is but make sure that any words and phrases, you make a note of them, and then you can reuse them in your speaking. Okay, so that's the first one. Now, obviously, watching movies and sorry, I'm just letting someone else in. Watching movies, and you have a large selection of educational talks that you can listen to as well. So when it comes to listening, you can listen to your own information about your own industry. So if you work for the fashion industry or you work for the IT industry, you will find different talks on different subjects. So I would highly recommend going and looking at things like TED Talks, TEDx, talks at Google, Big Think, Idea City. There's a whole list of places. Hello. Ryan's friend is leaning in. So there's a whole plethora, which is a great word, a whole selection of places that you can find information about whatever you, hi Gwen, how are you? About the things that you want to learn more about. Okay, so these are great places that you can find more vocabulary. Okay, so the first one, enhancing your listening skills. Then moving on, vocabulary. So you can find the vocabulary. We've just talked about some great places to find vocabulary. I would also recommend that you keep your ear to the ground, which is another great phrase, which means be aware of people around you that are talking. What are they talking about? So if you're in a business situation, you will hear other people making small talk or discussing whatever they're discussing. They might be discussing the latest presentation. They might be discussing developments that are going to happen within the company. Once again, any words and phrases that you hear that you're not completely sure about, if you're comfortable with the person, ask them what they mean. Particularly if they're a native speaker, they will throw in lots of idioms and phrasal verbs, and you think, but they will often explain what this means, but make a note of it. So that's a great way of enhancing the vocabulary that you need. Don't waste your time reading lists and lists of words and phrases that you have no use for. Find the words and phrases that surround you in your work environment and make a note of them, okay? Start your own Google Sheets. So write all of the words and phrases that and review them regularly. And that means then that you will feel more comfortable using these words and phrases. Think about situations that you want to feel more comfortable in. So do you want to present better? Do you want to negotiate more confidently? What do you want to use your English for? If you're working for an international company, then networking with people that are not in your own office space. So Ryan, you said earlier that you're surrounded by people that speak Chinese in Malaysia, but obviously they're going to have different people in different branches all over the world. So think about what you might want to say and what you might want to feel confident in speaking about, and then almost create your own role play using the words and phrases. So create your own sentences using the words and phrases that you want to, what you want to say. You're experts in your own field, in your own language. Use those and translate them into English so that you can be prepared for the next situation. Okay? Review them.
Yes.
Review them. It needs to be part of your daily practice. And the more you review the words and phrases that you want to use, the easier they will be to remember when you need them. Because I know,
Teacher,
yes.
Teacher, I interrupt you. Would you tell me any business talk shows on YouTube? Do you recommend?
Oh, listen, it depends. It depends on what industry you're in. It depends on, I've just gave you a kind of a short list of places to look. We can speak about this. Every person is individual. So it depends on what industry you work in. If you're in sales, you might want to look at
marketing,
some sales.
Marketing.
No,
Online marketing.
Go on to TEDx, go on to TED. There's TED Education. There's Think Big, Talks at Google. Go onto these types of platforms and look up marketing, look up sales, look up whatever industry you're in, and you will find talks about that subject. Okay, and then from there you can watch and listen and make a note of, pull out the vocabulary that you want to use, as well as learning more about your subject. So it's kind of a double-edged prong.
Okay.
But review them a couple of times a day, every day. There's no point in learning all these new words and putting them aside and going, oh, that's brilliant, I know all the vocabulary that I need. There's no use in doing that whatsoever, because when you actually need it, it will not be available for you. So start your Google Sheets, start making a list of the things that you want to be able to say, and then refer to that list daily. Incorporate it when you're waiting for the bank, when you're going to the toilet. It doesn't matter. As many times as you can do it, you'll find that your brain will find it more easy to remember. Your brain has lots of information going in. It can't remember everything. So it only remembers what you think is important. And by reviewing it, your brain will go, okay, that's important. Okay, any questions so far? No? Okay. Pronunciation. Vocabulary and pronunciation are the two biggest elements that most people have when it comes to communicating in English. Pronunciation is all about making yourself understood. There's no point in knowing the words if people don't understand what you're actually saying. And with so many different people from so many different parts of the world that are all communicating right now internationally, business is being done online everywhere. So it's not only about your pronunciation for native speakers, but it's about your pronunciation so that other people can understand what you're saying too. So the very best way of improving your pronunciation is finding a native speaking teacher. That is the person that will stop you and correct your pronunciation as you go along, and then reinforce it. So if you find a good teacher, you want them to make a note of everything that you pronounce wrongly, and then reinforce that. So for me, for example, when I teach pronunciation, we have a sheet of paper which has words. It doesn't matter what it's about, doesn't matter the subject. But what we do is we go through and we highlight using a highlighter pen every phrase, every word, or every couple of letters that student is having problems with, and then you reinforce that. So you review that, and you make sure that you go through it and read it out loud as regularly as possible, recording yourself saying it, so that when you know you're saying it wrongly, you can correct yourself. But a teacher will help you with that. Someone that is a native speaker, you don't want to learn someone else's accent. It doesn't matter what native English speaker they are, Australian, American, what, I guess that's down to what kind of accent you would like. But if you have a non-native English speaking accent, that's what you will learn. And that's what you will get better at, which is probably not what you want to do. You can also practice mirroring. Now, if you don't know what mirroring means, it's find someone with an accent that you like, or that you would like to speak, like to sound like, and break their words down into sentences and phrases. Pause when they pause, and say things exactly as they say it. So, okay, sorry, there was a question. Okay, if you're looking for an English speaking, oh, sorry, gosh, there's a few more. Yes, American or English, it doesn't matter. American, English, Australian, it doesn't matter. It's all down to the type of English that you would like to sound like. So I know that British English is supposed to be the nicest, but that's something that I read. That may not be true. Obviously, being English, I'm a little bit biased on that front. If you learn American English, or it doesn't matter which English you learn, because pronunciation is a thing that stands on its own. So if you use English words or American words, then people will be able to understand you. So you don't have to have American English pronunciation if you learned American English. The American and British English are kind of merging in together now. So most people understand the terminology that's used on both. There are a few key words that Americans use that British people don't, but those words, it doesn't matter if you say them with an English accent or an American accent. Okay. Yeah, so mirroring. So let's try a little bit of mirroring now. So I'm going to say just a couple of sentences. And even if you don't want to say it out loud, try saying it to yourself. So I'm going to say, hi, how are you doing? So now, brilliant, fantastic.
Hi, how are you doing?
Brilliant. Hi, how are you doing? Say it again. Hi, how are you doing?
Hi, how are you doing?
Great. Now I'm going to say something like, today I'm here to present the new door. So would you like to mirror? Sorry, I'm just going to mute you, Kim.
Today I'm here to present more.
Okay, now let's say it again. Today I'm here to present a door.
A door.
So
Today,
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 Today
go on,
I'm
Ryan.
present a tour.
Ryan, would you like to try?
okay. Today, I'm going to present a door.
I know it sounds silly. A door is a door.
Yeah.
But right now, I want you to actually listen to the way I say present, because a present is a gift.
Present.
But I am presenting. I am presenting a door. Okay. So this is an example of how. Okay. Sorry. Hafez, how are you? Would you like to say something? You've got your hand up. Hafez, would you like to say something? Okay. No. Dennis, would you like to say something?
I just trying to say today I here to present a door.
Great, fantastic. Now you can see if I say I'm here to present, I'm here to give you a present. It's a very different intonation. I go up and down, and the words themselves are very different. So by mirroring, what you can do is you can find an accent that you like and practice saying exactly what they say. So if I say hi, say hi.
Hi.
Hi,
Hi, how are you?
how are you?
Hi, how are you?
You see, I can say, how are you? Or how are you? Now, how are you can mean, I understand you've been sick. So how are you today? Are you okay? So if you, by doing this simple, it sounds simple, but this is a really useful way of improving your own pronunciation. But what I would recommend that you do is record yourself speaking. So if you record yourself speaking, you can actually then listen to the mirror and listen to yourself, and you can correct yourself. Okay?
Yeah. Okay.
Great. Thank you,
Got it.
AD, whoever you are.
How are you today?
How are you? How are you today?
How are you today?
How
How
are
are
you?
you today?
How
How
are
are
you?
you today?
How are you today?
How are you
Mirroring
today?
is shadowing, yes, basically the same thing. But what I would recommend that you break it down into small, don't try and mirror or shadow a whole paragraph. Just do it sentence by sentence. And if it's particularly tricky, phrase by phrase. And the more you repeat doing this, the easier it will become, obviously, over time. Okay, so far we've done listening skills. Then we've done expanding your vocabulary. Okay, obviously vocabulary, you can expand your vocabulary by reading as well as listening. And it's all about just exposing yourself to all of the words that you might want to find, that you might want to use. So when you're improving your speaking skills, start by setting yourself a goal of what you want to achieve. So do you want to make a presentation at work? Do you want to simply follow along with meetings as they go, as they happen? Do you want to host a meeting? What do you want to do? What's your first goal? And then start working from that. Learning English, becoming a native speaker. So many people say that's my goal. That's too big a goal. You need to break it down into small goals and say, okay, I want to, this is what I want to do first. Most important. This is what I want to do first. Okay, so listening skills, expand your vocabulary, perfect your pronunciation. And then lastly is to speak. And I know that sounds really, okay, but that's the aim of all of this. But there are many groups that have speaking speaking sessions. I'm part of one group where which I can drop the link if you would like. So I do a Saturday morning group. There's plenty of other groups that are going on that give you the opportunity to speak English. Join these groups, make these groups part of your week. A lot of them are really fun. You'll meet some really fun people, but make them part of your regular week so that even if you don't get to speak English at work, you can still speak regularly. You can use these opportunities to practice your vocabulary. So what vocabulary are you learning? What's your aim? In addition to that, you can speak to the mirror. You can speak to your phone, record yourself speaking, and it doesn't matter how you speak. But the most important thing is by physically speaking out loud, your mouth will make the right movements to say the words, because speaking English is a different set of movements within your mouth than speaking your own language. And that's why a lot of people have problems with V's and W's, TH's, R's, L's. These are all letters that you don't really, sounds that you don't have in your own language, that then you have problems with while speaking English. Okay, so the more you can, it's like practicing any muscle, the more you exercise it. Don't look at that, there's no muscle there. The more you can practice, the easier it becomes. Okay, so
Okay.
does anyone have any questions? They are the four main tips. I'm just going to share my screen with you, and then we'll just go through it one more time. So share screen. Okay, so can you see the screen?
Yes, so we can see.
Okay, so 4 steps. Expand your vocabulary. So this is one of the most important things that you can do on a regular basis. If you learn 2 new words a day, or if you learn 1 new word a day, that's 375 words in a year. So imagine if you learn 2 or 3. So even more than that. But the key is to learn vocabulary that's relevant to you. Don't learn lists and lists of words that mean nothing. You don't need to know how to describe a living room unless you're an interior designer. Okay, so if you're in sales, if you're in marketing, if you make presentations, if you speak to a lot of customers, find the vocabulary that you need. Perfect your pronunciation. This is all about finding the areas that you need to change and practicing so that you speak correctly. Listen. That's a really, whenever you speak, you need to understand what they are saying to you and then be able to respond. And if you understand easily what they are saying, you don't have to worry as much, because if you're worrying about understanding what they're saying, you're not preparing what you can say in return. You're worrying about them first. So try to make it as easy as possible for you to understand what they're saying to you. Okay? And then speak. Speak given every opportunity that you possibly can. Speak to everyone. Go and find people in the street that speak English. They are everywhere. We are everywhere. But the more that you speak, the more confident that you will become, and the easier you will find it. Okay?
Okay.
Does anyone have any questions? I know I have given you a lot of information. Now, let me tell you, I'm going to tell you a little bit about the speaking course. I'm going to just share the page with you now. The speaking course that I'm doing will start in December. I know that some of you are already in the speaking course, so I'm not going to talk too much length about it because I don't want to bore you. But it's going to start at the beginning of December. It's going to take place, here it is, I've just put the link in the, it's going to take place with there's going to be 4 Zoom lessons. Now, those Zoom lessons will be an hour long each. We're going to cover all of the subjects that I've just spoken about in a lot more depth. I'm going to show you where to find your vocabulary, and we're going to work with, I'm going to give you lots of tips and tricks. So we're going to go through extra things such as how you talk about the time, and there's lots of things that people find tricky. We're going to go through vocabulary, pronunciation, listening skills, and speaking skills. There's going to be plenty of opportunity to ask all the questions that you want, either in the Zoom lessons themselves or even in the Facebook group. There's going to be a private Facebook group just for people that are taking the course. So for all of those of you that want to find people to practice with, there will be people there that you can practice with, because everyone is there with the same aim. Okay? And there'll be also be some templates and some printouts. So we have some templates, words and phrases that you can use in different situations. So there'll be some negotiation phrases, some presentation phrases, words and phrases that you can use to introduce yourself, and all of these other issues. So you can actually print some of those out, the ones that you will find useful. You can print all of them out, obviously, but the whole idea is that I will give you as much information as I can, as I think will help you to improve your speaking skills. Okay? So the cost of the course, it's only $27. It's really affordable, and you will get full support for the whole month for that price. So the Facebook group will open on the 30th of November, so this time next week, and it will be open until the end of December. So obviously, New Year is something that we celebrate, so I'll probably keep it open for a few days into January as well. Okay? For everyone that's not in my Business English group, my Facebook group, come and join me, because we do a regular Saturday discussion and networking group, which takes place at 11 a.m. every Saturday. And you will find there's normally about 25 people come along, and we have a chat. Oh, sorry, I think I've just sent direct message rather than everyone. Yeah, we normally chat about, well, different subjects. We've covered remote working and reading and lots of different subjects. So we tend to cover a new subject every week. Okay, and that also will help you to.
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a question. Yeah, it's a regular class. Yeah, it's a weekly session.
It's a weekly session. Yeah.
It's a big. How many sessions will be there in a week?
No, we have this. Okay, so let me tell you, the course is going to be one session every week. That's separate. So that's going to be a training lesson every week, where we'll also do some role plays and things like that. But it will be, sorry, I'm going to have to mute you, Sunil, because you're. But that will be the course involves 4 Zoom lessons during the month of December. So they're on the 1st, the 8th, the 15th, and the 22nd. Okay, so that's a separate thing. The group, in the normal Facebook group, we do once a week, we do a session for practicing your discussion and networking, and that's every Saturday.
Okay, got it. Got it.
Does anyone have any questions? So as I said, the course is only $27. And obviously to join the group is free. So you can jump on there and join the group. Okay, does anyone have any questions? No? Okay, so thank you very much for coming. It's been just over half an hour, so hopefully I'm glad that you've come. Hopefully you found some value. Dennis, you had something to say?
Yeah, John, I wanted to ask you about the durations of lessons, because I've watched it before, but I don't understand what is the duration of lesson. One lesson, I mean.
The duration of one lesson within the course.
In the course, I mean. Yeah.
Okay, each lesson will be at least an hour. So, and then I'm going to have time for question and answers. So it depends on how many questions there are. If there are lots of questions, it will probably be an hour and a half. If there's no questions at all, it will be just over an hour. So it's an hour. but plus question time afterwards. So that question time you can use to ask questions about any relevance to English grammar, business English, entrepreneurship, anything that you want to ask, you can ask during those sessions. You can also ask within the group. You will have a private Facebook group. So you can ask any questions during that month within the group, and I will jump on there several times a day so that I can answer them for you.
Thank you very much. Okay.
No problem. Does anyone have any other questions? No? Okay. Well, thank you very much for taking the time out. It's Wednesday today, so happy hump day, as we say in England, because it's obviously the Monday and Tuesday. So I was just doing it. Monday, Tuesday is at the beginning of the week. Thursday, Friday at the end of the week. So today is the middle. So for some of you, you're already heading towards the weekend. And for the rest of us, I'm not quite there. So thank you all for joining, and hopefully I'll see you again soon. And take care.
See you guys.
See you. Bye.
Goodbye.
Mhm.